Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm drawing whatever the heck I want. Again! A little over a month ago, I made a video where I drew whatever I wanted, and I had a lot of fun making that video. So much fun that I want to do it again. I really enjoyed myself and got to do all kinds of things that I had been wanting to work on. Plus, many of you seemed to enjoy the first video, which made me very glad. I don't have much else to say for this intro, so let's jump into the video. So first we are going to be drawing in my sketchbook. I've been wanting to play around with markers and draw some webtoon fan art for some of the webtoons I've been reading. Also, if you're wondering what is on this page, these are some derpy sketches of Kuro from Haikyuu. Anyways, like I mentioned, I'm going to be drawing some characters from webtoons I have been reading. If you don't know, webtoons are basically just webcomics posted on the app Webtoon. The first character I'm drawing is Amy from Space Boy. Space Boy is one of my favorite webtoons. I've been reading it for years. I've actually been buying it in the physical book form. The books are so pretty and the printing quality is so nice. I've been really enjoying the books. Space Boy is one of my favorites because the writing and the way Stephen McCraney writes the characters and their emotions is so well done. It's something I aspire for in my own work, and I hope I can write at that level someday. I feel like he does a really good job at making us understand the characters' emotions and what they're feeling. Also, Space Boy is a great read for all ages. It can be a bit intense and does deal with some heavier topics like depression, anxiety, and death. But I would say it's suitable for ages like 10 and up. But I'm not saying it's like a kiddie comic, it's definitely a comic that's for all ages. I know I definitely have enjoyed reading it and has made me feel so many different emotions and has made me cry on several occasions. The hardest part about drawing Amy was definitely her hair. I accidentally drew her hair into pigtails at first, but then I remembered that they were buns, not pigtails. Her hair is very stylized, so it was interesting interpreting it in my style. Oh, also, I'll be sketching all of the characters first and then I'll be coloring the characters. So the next character I am drawing is John from the webtoon Unordinary. Unordinary is another one of my favorites that I've been reading for years. I really admire Uru-chan's art and the way she writes the characters and how they grow and change as the series progresses. She's really good at drawing fighting scenes and planning them out. Also, the superpowers that the characters have are really neat and well thought out. I've never really had to draw fighting scenes, but I know they are not easy to draw and plan, and that they take a lot of time. I kept debating if I wanted to draw John or Sarah. I decided to go with John because the most recent chapters have been about him, and I'm happy with the progress he is making, but I don't want to give any spoilers, so I won't say anything more. John and Amy took up a lot more space than I was planning, so the last character kind of got squeezed in, and I actually end up not coloring him later on. But this is Corylus from the webtoon Raven Saga. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, so sorry if I'm saying it wrong. But this webcomic is by Chihiro Hawe. I've actually been following Chihiro on Instagram for years and I love her art so much. It's so pretty and I love the way she stylizes her characters. Her skills are just amazing and I want to be able to draw poses as well as she does someday. They always just look so fluid and nice. So I got really excited when I heard she was going to be making a webtoon. Raven Saga is a newer webtoon and I've been very much enjoying it, and the characters, they are all so cute and precious. I love Ren and Corylus, they are adorable. So after sketching in the characters, it's now time for coloring. Also, I want to mention that the lovely people over at World Book Media actually sent me this book. It's called Manga Artist Copic Marker Coloring Techniques. This book was made in Japan and it has been translated into English. This book is beautiful and has so many lovely tips. I've been wanting to improve my marker skills and I think this book will be very helpful. I think it's really neat that it includes tips from manga artists in Japan and that it's been translated into English. I always want Japanese how to draw manga books because they seem so helpful, but I can never read them because they're in Japanese. But this one's been translated, so it's really cool. Also, the people over at World Book Media offered to do a giveaway with me, so we will be giving away 2 copies of this book. I'll have all of the info in the description if you're interested in joining. Anyways, now back to the art. One thing I've been wanting to get better at is shading skin. I learned some new techniques from the book and I tried to put them to use. So I'm starting by applying the blush. In this case, I'm using E93. I then take E00 and blend it out. Then I take E000 and proceed to fill in the skin. The colors will look kind of dark at first, but they will get lighter as they dry. Also, the skin looks kind of blotchy right now, but I'll go over with another coat of E000 to help smooth it out and not be so blotchy. When things are looking kind of blotchy, that usually means that different parts of the paper are filled with different amounts of ink. So you want to try to get all of the ink evenly dispersed in the paper, if that makes sense. So going over with another coat can be helpful. I mentioned this in my last drawing whatever I want video, but I like to color before going in with the line art because my liners that I like to use are water-based, so markers will make them smudge. My Kohl Erase color pencils do kinda smudge with the Copic marker, but since I used orange, it's not super noticeable. A lot of times when I'm drawing people, I try to use like red, pink, or orange when sketching, because then when it blends out into the markers, it's not super noticeable. But you can just kind of see it a little bit. It's not like green or blue where it looks really weird when it blends with the skin tone. For all the parts that I included blush, I used the same process of E93, blend out with E00, and then blend out even more with E000. Also, I'm using a marker sketchbook, so it is made for using with markers. Paper can really change how your markers behave, so I recommend finding a paper that works well with your markers. I am using an Ohuhu sketchbook and it seems to work really nicely with my Copics. So after getting the basic colors of the skin in place, I'm going to try adding some purple to the skin to make it look more interesting. This is something I saw in the book and I thought it looked really neat, so I wanted to try it out. I use V000 in an area where I want to add a shadow. V000 is a light color, so it does slightly lighten the previous colors I put down. But to make it so it gets darker instead of lighter, I blend in RV95 and E00. Now we get this really neat purple shadow. Using colors of a different hue, like purple for shading skin, can help it look really interesting. Also, you don't need to use the exact same colors as me. The book actually had different colors listed, but I didn't have them, so I just used the closest things that I had to the book. I had so much fun adding this purple shading, and I really love the look. I want to try to use it more for illustrations in the future. For the rest of the drawing, I kept things pretty simple. Like Amy's hair, I kept pretty simple because I was mostly just kind of wanting to focus on learning how to shade the skin better. So I kept the hair a little bit more simple. I just used 2 different oranges. I had a lighter orange and a darker orange, and I used the darker orange wherever I wanted it to be separate from the lighter orange. So yeah, I did add more detail to the hair with the line art. Speaking of the line art, I actually decided to use colored pencils instead of my water-based liners because I wanted the picture to have a really soft look, and colored pencils kind of gives a softer look than my liners do. So yeah, I chose the colored pencils. Amy's eyes are often filled in completely black. In this case, I went in with a brown instead to keep things kind of softer. After coloring Amy, it was now time to color John. I spent a pretty long time on Amy, so I decided to keep things a little simpler for John. I didn't color his skin, and I decided to color only his eyes and hair. I feel like this makes his eyes really pop, and I wanted them to stand out, so I used a really bright yellow and a slightly darker yellow for the shading. It's kind of funny because Amy has a yellow shirt and John has yellow eyes, so the color schemes kind of complement each other. John's hair was a lot of fun to work on because it's really fluffy and kind of goes all over the place. I used a dark cool gray to fill in most of the hair and used black for the parts where I wanted shading. I was thinking of using just straight up black for all of the hair, but I thought that might be a little bit too harsh. Plus my black marker is kind of starting to dry out. I need to get a refill for it. So yeah, that's why I went with the dark cool gray for most of the hair. After filling in the hair, I went in with my twee markers and added some line art to finish things up. I especially cleaned up areas like the hair to make the hair strands a little bit fine and come to more of a point, and just overall inked all of the details. Drawing John in my style was really fun. I kind of want to draw some more of the characters from Unordinary because I like a lot of the characters. Like I really want to draw Sarah and maybe Blake. And here's the finished page. I'm really glad I got to experiment with markers and learn more about them. I'm kinda sad I didn't get around to coloring Corliss, but after working on John and Amy, I was kinda tired. But maybe I can draw him again sometime and actually color him. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you don't know what Skillshare is, it's an online community where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare is for everyone, creative and curious people, lifelong learners, real working creatives, beginners, pros, dabblers, and masters. No matter who you are, Skillshare has classes to fit your schedule and skill level. And there are so many different topics like animation, fine art, graphic design, and more. A class you may find interesting is Character Illustration. Create a character with Photoshop and watercolor by Jana Bogac. Step into comic artist Jana Bogac's studio and discover how to mix digital and traditional media to develop one-of-a-kind characters. From sketching thumbnails and refining in Photoshop, to mixing ink and finishing with gouache. You'll learn how to unite the flexibility of digital illustrations with the spontaneity of fine art to create characters packed with personality. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes. So you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. And it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. However, you can try Skillshare for free. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership, so you can explore your creativity. So go try out Skillshare today. Oh, and also, I have a class on Skillshare, so you can also check that out too. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. So for this piece of art, I wanted to experiment with backgrounds and colors. I knew I wanted to do this, but I didn't know what I wanted to draw. Well, I was browsing around on the internet hoping something would smack me in the face with inspiration. And I came across the trailer for 17's mini album that I'll be releasing soon. And in it there was this scene of S-Coups on a bus, and it's just so pretty. I knew right away when I saw it that I wanted to draw it. So yeah, I'm going to draw this. To start, I needed to get everything in place. So I brought the picture into a large canvas and made a rectangle the same size as the original picture. This will make it easier for me to get things into place because I can more easily compare shapes and sizes because my rectangle is the same size as the original picture. I started out by drawing where I thought the horizon line is. I kind of figured out where it is by looking at the different parts of the picture and just kind of trying to figure out where it is. And I basically kind of just draw all the parts of the picture going towards that point. Like for the windows, I drew lines going back to the horizon line to help me get the windows in place. This background is both kind of complicated but also simple at the same time because it is only one point perspective, so I feel like it was a good one for me to study. It's simple enough that I can understand it and break it down, but it's also detailed enough that it's kind of tricky a little bit. The kind of trickiest part was the windows and that the bus roof curves, so I was trying to capture that in my art. Right now, I'm not trying to be super clean or go into major detail. I'm just trying to get all of the shapes and perspective in place. I also very roughly draw in S-Coups and get the layout for the flowers. Next, I decided to crop in the pictures because they were in a really long format and I felt like I could crop some of it out, so I did. Then I make my sketch much larger and start color blocking. When I sketch backgrounds with like a pencil, I tend to get caught up in details. So to help me not do that, I find I get a better result if I block in the elements of the picture with colors. Also, if you don't know, 17 is a K-pop group. I've been listening to their music for... How long have I been listening to their music? I started listening to BTS in like 2017, and I think I started listening to 17 in like 2018. But I don't know if I can call myself a carrot because I don't know a ton about the members, and I've only watched like 2 of their music videos. I've watched, I think I watched Home Run, and I also watched Hitori Janai. I guess I'm like a baby carrot. I've learned more about 17 recently because of Rin Spirit Art. She is a carrot and she often draws the members and talks about them, so I've learned a lot from her. I've also been watching Going 17 recently, so that's really helpful for learning all of the members and their names. I'm still learning about them, but my bias might be DK or Wanu, but I'm not totally sure yet. It might end up being someone else. Some of my favorite 17 songs are Don't Wanna Cry, that was one of the first ones I ever listened to. Hitori Janai, Kidult Clap, is that the name of the song? So when they go boom, cha 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 cha. I like a lot of their songs. I just really like their kind of happy, upbeat songs, and they put me in a good mood. So after getting more of the details in place, I am now moving on to rendering. I was in a digital painting mood, so I decided to treat this as a digital painting. I'm starting by getting the overall lighting in place, like the sunlight coming in from the back window and the blue light coming in from the side windows. I got some basic shadows on S-Coups, but I didn't go into details yet. Also, I wasn't trying to majorly capture his likeness, so sorry if it doesn't really look like him. I kind of tried to capture some of his features, but at the same time I wasn't trying to make it look exactly like him, so yeah. The chairs were a lot of fun to shade because I really got to play around with colors and blending them. I really love how this scene has a mixture of warm and cool lighting. It's one of my favorite lightings to work with because you get so many different colors and it's so pretty. I watched a video recently by Sam Does Art called How to Become an Art Master or something like that, and in the video he talks a lot about making all of the lighting interact with each other and thinking about how different parts of the shading and colors interact. He also talks about how we can have a bunch of random colors, but those colors come together to make us see forms, shapes, and details. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, he explains it much better, but I was trying to keep those things in mind while working on this painting, and I feel like that video kind of helped. Like with the flowers, I'm not going in and drawing all of the flowers, I'm just using blobs of color and strands of green, but our brains still perceive them as plants. By the way, I had so much fun with the flowers. They were like my favorite part. I was so excited to work on the plants. They're one of the parts that made me really want to draw this scene because I really liked the mixture of the kind of mechanical bus, but with the natureiness of the flowers, and I think it's really cool. Overall, I spent about 2.5 hours on this picture, which actually wasn't too bad. I felt like I got quite a bit done in that time. It ended up being way more finished than I was expecting it to be. My plan was to keep things really rough and kind of sketchy, but I kind of just kept cleaning things up and rendering things. But it's okay. I enjoyed myself and I had a lot of fun working on this piece. One part that was kind of tricky was the hand right here that's holding the flower. Like I mentioned, I didn't plan for things to be super clean, so I just kind of quickly sketched everything in. Well then, when I was cleaning things up, I ended up not liking some of the parts very much because I didn't get my base totally in place, but then I started rendering. So yeah, I ended up not liking the hand, so I painted over it. I thought I was doing all of this on a new layer, so if I didn't like this new hand, I could just go back to the old one. Well, it turns out I wasn't on a different layer, so I couldn't get the old hand back even if I wanted to. Thankfully, I do like the new hand much better. I made sure to look at my reference picture a lot and kind of base it more on S-Coups' hand, which was really helpful. It would have been really sad if I didn't like this new hand because I wouldn't have been able to go back to the old hand. Oh, also, I really liked working on the flower he's holding. It's pretty simple. I just kind of dabbed in a bunch of purple and kind of made it a flower shape, but it was fun. So after finishing the hand and the flower, I did the finishing details and played around with some filters, and ta-da! The picture is done. I had so much fun creating this piece. It was really relaxing and I loved working with all of the colors, and I'm happy I challenged myself to do a background. Before we end this video, I want to say thank you so much to my lovely patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!